Hey, man, it's Dukes and Bell. Today we are live at Flowery Branch. Mike had some things going on today. Obviously, O is out as well. So it's me and Day Day chopping it up with you guys on the behind the scenes show. And yesterday we had an interesting and great conversation with Alex Anthopoulos, Braves general manager, which we'll recap here in just a little bit. But got to give a couple of shout outs. First of all, Day Day, high school sports, obviously, and certainly football in the state of Georgia is as big as it gets. And you happened to be at the state championship last night. Just to recap, man, because props to the kids, the coaching staffs. It's hard to get there. It's hard to win it. But Buford comes out on top. Tell me what you experienced last night before we get into some of this other stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, great atmosphere last night. I walked in maybe about 15 minutes before kickoff, and both sides were pretty much packed. I mean, they almost literally had the entire lower bowl like close to capacity. And just an electric atmosphere. I've been to a lot of state title games, and as far as my recent memory goes, this may have been one of the most electric crowds that I'd seen,
Yeah,
and it stayed that way the entire night. So shout out to the crowd. It was a great look for Georgia High School Association, being a nationally viewed game. Viewed meaning like most eyes were on it because it was kind of considered the national championship. Because
sure.
depending on which ranking you looked at, Buford entered as the number one team, and Carrollton number five in some polls, but basically two top 10 teams. And for the game itself, man, it was like I told you offline, it was like an SEC junior matchup, bro. Like from the talent level to how fast these kids were moving around, how hard they were hitting. It was a defensive game the entire first half. Buford with two interceptions in the first half. The game was only 7-0 at halftime, but then the fireworks let off in the second half, and Buford gets two field goals in the third quarter to get within 7-6. Then they get on top after a 2-point conversion, scoring 2-point conversion. They take a 14-6-7 lead. Carrollton comes right back, ties it up. Buford goes up. Carrollton comes right back, ties it up on the scoop and score. And then finally, Georgia commit Tyreek Green breaks for an 85-yard rushing touchdown, and that pretty much was the icing on the cake. So electric atmosphere. Dylan Raiola was in the building, KJ
Okay.
Bolden in the building. So I mean, it was phenomenal, man. And hats off to both of those programs, like you said, Carl, because I had Coach App on last week on Prep Sports Nation. Previous week, I actually had Coach Joey King from Carrollton on. So no idea that it would actually end up being the two, but both great guys. You never, when you cover high school sports, it's always tough to see one side take the L, because you kind of develop like these relationships over the years with these coaches and these players. So it's always tough to see one side take the L, but all in all, a great look for Georgia as a whole when it comes to high school football, man. And it all wraps up today. The big one today will be Thomas County Central and Gainesville. That's the 5A state championship game. I am also interested. There's the private championship, Hebron Christian, who's defending champs, taking on Calvary Day out of Savannah Christian. That should be a pretty good game too. That kicks it off for the boys. But yeah, great night last night, man. Even Chipper Jones chimed in, Carl, and was like, glad I stayed up and watched this one. So
Everybody's a high school football fan, and they should be. I mean, it's just with the way college football has gone, the purity of it is still there. You're playing
right.
for the pride of your school, your community, your friends, right? Your family. And that's why there's nothing like it. Now, even it used to be that way. All right, I'm going to college. I'm going to go play for Georgia, but I'm only going to be there for a year. And now I'm leaving and going somewhere. It's just, it's not the same. And to come up and grow up with the guys that you play with, there's nothing like it, man. And see these communities supported. Congratulations to Coach App. I'm a big fan of his, and certainly what they're doing at Buford. I have been for a while now and played in their charity golf tournaments and fundraisers and whatnot. So I know a lot of people up there, and people give them crap about the facilities and all that, but look, they've earned it.
Yeah.
They've won a lot. And, you've got kids from all over the country wanting to come and play at these schools and these big programs in Georgia because they understand what it's like. So shout out to Carrollton, shout out to Buford. Hey, man, while we're shouting people out, 9-1, Dogs basketball is ranked in the top 25 if you've not been paying attention. So just want to give a shout out, Coach White, man. We said, look, they got to get back to the tournament. They got to make some noise. It looks like he has a team that could do that. If you're not watching college basketball at this point, I get it. You know, we're still in football and college football, but Georgia is going to be a team, I think, in the spring, Dede, we're going to be talking a lot about in the SEC. And more importantly, I think in the big picture of things with the way they've shown that they can play so far this season.
Yeah, and again, they, I'm not too surprised that maybe people aren't talking about them nationally like some of the other teams. They did lose a lot of pieces. Silas Demery Jr. transferred up to UConn, I believe it is. And so for the most part, outside of what's my guy Blue, outside of Blue coming back, pretty retooled roster. So it could be just the fact of a lot of not a familiar not a lot of familiar names with these guys. But yeah, like you said, shouts out to them coming in this week at number 25 in the top 25 at AP poll.
All right, man. Speaking of hoops, Trae Young's going to make his way back to the Hawks. We have not gotten a start date as far as like when he's going to play. You got to believe, Dede, it's going to happen here in the next week or so because he's been recalled from the Skyhawks, which is obviously the G League team. But that was more about conditioning, right? It just, he wasn't going to play. It was just more about getting the conditioning in and getting out there. And then he's been recalled, but it's only a matter of time. It could be as soon as by the end of the week. Could be early next week before we get a chance to see Trae. And then what does this team look like? So it's something we'll be talking about today at Flowery Branch. And by the way, we're live today up at Flowery as the Falcons get ready for the Cardinals. We'll talk to Coach Ra. And as Mike and I mentioned, we will discuss Kirk Cousins today. And look, there's a lot of stuff. I don't know how much he'll give. We will certainly ask. But I think the big thing for us is moving forward, is he willing to maybe restructure his deal? And that is something that, whether he says, yeah, look, this is where I wanted to be in the first place, I'm willing to do it, be great. That would be breaking news. If he says, hell no, I'm ready to get up out of here, that's also breaking news. But I don't know what he's going to give us. And I feel like for everything that Cousins has gone through, and for us, what we've gone through with him over the last year and a half, it's going to be a very interesting conversation, and we invite you to be there at 2:00 today. I think we're going to get him sometime in the 3:00 hour. Don't want to be so specific because they practice and then they come off the field and we grab him, but he'll come in our studios and we'll sit down with him. So that should be interesting today. Are you expecting him to say anything specific when it comes to this offense? Because I got a lot of offensive questions for him. Because say what you want, he's played well since being inserted in. I think he had one bad game, but that game he really didn't prepare for the start. Remember, Penix was supposed to start, and then they were like, no, we're going to start Cousins. So he didn't get all the reps. But in the games where he's gotten all the reps in practice, he's looked fairly well, fairly decent. And I think for a lot of people, they say, all right, is this offense better with Cousins than it was with Penix? Something I'm going to dive into with him today. But are you looking for something specific, Dede?
I'll be honest with you. My specifics is going to be, like you just alluded to at the start of, talking about Cousins is he going to, kind of lean into anything at all that, gives us some kind of insight as to where his mindset is on his future with this franchise? Because, the reality is with 3 games left, we're out of the playoffs. We don't have a definitive on the timeline for Michael Penix's return. Falcons have to make quarterback who's going to be, they got to kind of address that. That's got to be a priority. Whether they make that publicly right now, that's got to be something that's top of mind right now, in my opinion, as to how you're going to start 2026 off. And if the reality, in my opinion, I know so many people say, look, with everything that went wrong with Kirk, went down, how things went down, Kirk Cousins shouldn't want to stay. He should want to leave. I'm of the opinion that you're going to still get a pretty significant check if you stay in Atlanta, 1. Yeah. 2, it's time for the grown-ups to sit down at the table and have a calm conversation about how they can make a partnership work. All right? Last year was last year. This year, pretty much over with. Forget all of that. How can we make both sides of the party happy? So I'm really interested to see, does he give us any inkling that he would seriously entertain coming back to be the Falcons quarterback to start 2026, because we are going to need a quarterback to start 2026.
I'm going to tell you how he comes back. They have to promise him that he's the starter for next season. Period.
Yeah.
And I think if that is something that is promised, meaning regardless of when Michael Penix is available, I'm the dude. You give me the year that I was supposed to have when you benched me. And I say that, and that may be a strong demand, because some of you will say, well, Dukes, what if he sucks? What if he's not playing well? You're gonna commit to that. I think that's the only way. If I'm him, it's the only way I'm coming back. It's not as if Kirk won't have options. There are plenty of teams that will be looking for quarterbacks. And I know it feels weird, but when you start looking at all the eliminated teams in the National Football League, and Day, I was just looking at this, before we came on. This is our behind-the-scenes show, guys. It's Dukes and Bell. Mike had some things to do today. Big O is not with us, but of course they'll be there on the show today starting at 2. But teams that are already eliminated from the playoffs, right? Just real quick. Chiefs, they don't need a quarterback, but they need a fill-in until Mahomes comes back from this surgery. The Dolphins could be moving in a completely different direction off of Tua. Bengals are interesting because all these rumors about Joe Burrow being fed up with the Bengals organization has a lot of people around the league and sources that I've even talked to here today saying, look, man, he may be out of there. Well, okay, well, then that opens up a slot for the Bengals if he forces a trade potentially. Jets, they're a mess. They still need a quarterback, right? It feels like the Browns are going to go with Shedeur Sanders, but we're not sure about that. The Raiders, I don't know where they're going. I think the Geno experiment is over. Just look around the league and you start going, okay, where are these teams going? The Cardinals are moving on from Kyler Murray, so there will be opportunities for him. And I'm talking about Kirk Cousins, but that's the only way I think he comes back and says, look, I'll take the pay cut, whatever it is, but I need to know that I'm the guy. And that allows, and here's what the Falcons do. Falcons say, great. It allows Michael Penix to have a full year to recover, and we don't have to worry about running him out there when he's still not 100%.
Yes.
It might work out. But if I'm Cousins, that's what I would do. I'm not going to tell him that today.
Right.
But if I'm him and his people, and he's got smart agents and people around him, they know what they're looking for. And more importantly, it's not the money. I'm going to tell you guys, I think everybody thinks he's doing $80 million. He's not. It's more about the commitment to making sure he can play, because I think he wants to continue to play even after this season's done. All right, one other thing. Alex Anthopoulos joined us yesterday. 25 minutes, Day, right? At least?
Yeah.
He answered every single question in regards to where the Braves are, the Han-Sang Kim deal, which, by the way, is a steal. Braves fans, I'm telling you right now, he opted out of $16 million. So basically, you paid him a couple of million more to come back. You've got to put this in perspective. And it's 1 year. He balls out. Great. You benefit from it. It's sort of like the Chris Sale situation. If he doesn't, it's 1 year. And you move on, and there could be other consequences as far as if he decides to sign somewhere else, you might end up getting a draft pick. There are contingency plans when you start talking about this deal with Kim. I think it's smart. I think it was a good deal. But more importantly, I think the most impressive thing that I got from Alex Anthopoulos, and it's online at Dukes and Bell. Make sure you subscribe. Guys, you get all of our content online. Day was when he started talking about not being concerned about going over the luxury threshold. That we are already there when it comes to payroll. We are top 5 in baseball when it comes to payroll. So for anybody who said, hey, we're not spending money, we don't spend money on guys, remember all these escalators. When you sign Michael Money Harris and Acuna and Riley, Olsen, all these escalators and these deals are now where they should be, meaning a lot of guys are hitting their maximum dollars after signing a deal that they were underpaid for 3 or 4 or 5 years. Nevertheless, with these new signings, including the ones in the bullpen, it's taken us into the top 5. And Alex said yesterday, we're not afraid to pay the extra $2 million to have a contender. And I thought that was what fans wanted to hear, and I certainly wanted to hear, because we're apprehensive when it comes to the Braves. They're like, oh, will they do that? They won't do that. Doesn't feel that way, Day. Doesn't feel like they won't do it.
No, it doesn't. And then you add to the fact that, take what you said about, what he said about them not being afraid to go over. Also add in the fact that he said they're very much wide open, and they're shooting high in regards to potentially adding a fifth starter. So that lets you know right there, to me, in my opinion, that this team Alex is, as they say, leaving no stone unturned
Yeah.
to get this team back where they should be in regards to being a contender for the division and the World Series. Because a lot of people got to remember, man, not just the Braves missing out. He hasn't missed the postseason as a GM, and I think it's 10 maybe plus years.
Yep.
So this is new territory for him as well, not just us as Braves fans. So couple that, the money aspect with the fact that, they're open to bringing in a fifth starter. I think this is they're making moves that, we should be very happy with this Braves team if everyone stays healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
We should be very happy with what we see once the season gets started.
Yeah, I like our club. I know it's December. I'm saying this now. Health is a factor that everybody has to deal with. Look, the Dodgers are on another level, okay? Mm-hmm. They are better than everybody else in the National League, Phillies, Mets, everybody, including us. But health is always a factor, and it's the one thing that is unpredictable, especially over 162 games. Dodgers, if they are dealing with health issues, some people say they just throw money at it. You can only do that for so long. It doesn't mean you're getting the right replacements. So that is always a factor, but I like our club, man. I like the flexibility of it right now. I like what Alex and the front office are looking at and how they're approaching this. I said this, we didn't need a major fix. We needed to get healthy, and then you needed to address the shortstop situation, which they've done. And you have to think that Michael Money Harris figured it out at the end of the year. Profar, a full season. He looked really good at the end of the season. You start looking at the options at DH and how Drake is playing. Like, there's a lot of promise with this lineup, man. And if Olsen and Riley come back, like, they could be doing some things. So go check out the interview. It's online at Odyssey.com, guys. Dukes and Bell, make sure you subscribe. All right, we got to get out of here. Excuse me. Today, live at Flowery Branch, 2 o'clock. As we mentioned, Coach Rob will talk to us. It's Cardinals on Sunday, late start, 4 o'clock window. And then Kirk Cousins stops by. It's the interview you've been waiting for. All right, man. We'll talk to you guys at 2 o'clock. Appreciate you guys being here.